after falling behind 14-0, LSU outscored Arkansas 41-3 for the rest of the game. The Tigers finished the season 12-0 for the first time in school history. Given all of the off-field issues, how impressive was LSU's regular season? Guys, what do you think?
Lori, this was very impressive for this team. This is a team that could have easily crumbled like Ohio State or like Miami and finished the season just barely reaching bowl eligibility. But no, this is a team that dominated this season, even with the suspensions to Matthew, Ware, Thorold, Simon in the Auburn game. That was arguably their best game of the season. And then in the first game of the season, when Jordan Jefferson gets suspended, Jarrett Lee comes in, starts half the season, and plays phenomenal. Made LSU fans forget about that season when he threw 16 interceptions.
Very true. And you early on in the season, you mentioned Les Miles going with Jarrett Lee, even when Jordan Jefferson came back early in the season. My co-host was talking a lot about his love for LSU and my love for Alabama throughout the season. But I have to give Les Miles a lot of credit for being able to not only bring back Jefferson, but to sort of transition him in. And to have Jefferson lead one of the best teams in the country. They have more impressive wins than any team this year, and their offensive line and their running backs have been able to impose their will on everyone they've played.
Absolutely. Love that power running game with LSU. But LSU was not the only team to blow out its rival. Alabama traveled to the Plains and handed Auburn a 42-14 loss to cap an 11-1 season. Is this Crimson Tide team truly the second best team in the country?
I would have to agree. I mean, if you guys watched that game, they ran all over Auburn. I was watching it with my brother, who's an Auburn alum, and I was sitting there laughing because when you go on ESPN's website and you look at the key players for the games and the key scores, I mean, Alabama took it all: passing, rushing, receiving. They took every aspect of the game and made it theirs and made that Iron Bowl theirs.
You mentioned the offense. I like the defense for both teams, and the thing that separates Alabama and LSU from the rest is the way that they utilize their front four and the way they can disguise blitz packages and coverage packages, confuse the quarterback without even putting pressure on him.
Right, and we've seen this before where there has been a very good SEC team left out at the end of the season because of the way they beat up on each other throughout the season. It's going to come down to the way you look at it. Do you look at it and say Oklahoma State had the worst loss, or do you look at it and do you say that Alabama has the better loss because they played the much more competitive team in LSU? So that really makes it difficult.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you.
Yeah, the BCS is going to have fun with that one.
Yes, definitely.
Definitely. Moving on now, when we come back, we'll tell you if the Georgia Bulldogs can end LSU's perfection, and later we'll take a look at the future of the SEC.
Welcome back. Well, after starting the season 0-2, Georgia enters the SEC championship game on a 10-game winning streak. The Bulldogs will meet number 1 LSU, who is on a 13-game win streak of their own. Which streak ends?
Well, Jonathan, you know how much I love the Georgia Bulldogs, but sadly to say, I really think the Georgia Bulldogs winning streak is going to end. If you look at it statistically, everyone knows LSU is going to do well and beat them, but I think Georgia's really going to put up a fight because, as we were talking about earlier, I think Georgia has a very underrated defense. Their defense is strong. They have defensive players consistently on the defensive player of the week. You know, I really see them pushing LSU to a new limit that a lot of other teams haven't pushed them. And I mean, you can't forget about their quarterback, Aaron Murray, who's in the top 3 for the Offensive Player of the Year. So, you know, they have that offensive power tool, and they also have their defense. So I really think they're going to give LSU a run for their money, but I don't see them pulling out a win.
You mentioned the defensive players for Georgia. Jarvis Jones is the guy that I really like, and he's the guy that we'll talk about later on in the show. But I really think, coming into this game, I thought that Georgia would get blown out. But the more that I've thought about it, the more that I think this is a team that can come out swinging. Georgia has nothing to lose in this game, essentially.
Exactly.
A lot of their players don't think they can win. A lot of their fans are even saying that I say players. I think they probably know what they're up against, but a lot of the fans don't have any hope. I think this is a team that has their back against the wall, and when that happens, that can be a dangerous combination there.
Right, and after the victory over number 3 Arkansas, I think we're all so ready to say LSU, hands down. I think, which makes it very difficult for us to pick this game. But they were talking to players, a lot of different players after the LSU Arkansas game, and one of the things that they noted was that the players were talking about how they instead of talking about the national championship game or whether or not they should retain their number 1 spot, what they were saying was, we still got one more. And that's why I think
very
LSU will be,
focused
Les
team.
Miles will have the team focused and ready for the game.
I think LSU's D can still force Murray into a few ill-advised throws, which we've seen him.
Well, I definitely think
do.
it's going to be an interesting game and a well-played game, so I'm excited to watch it.
LSU wins by
Absolutely.
a couple.
When we come back, we'll tell you if a rematch is in store for the BCS title game, and we'll bring you something special for our season finale.